All right, here we go, big dog. Welcome to Control Talk Now for the week ending February 28, 2016. My name is Eric Stromquist, and you're watching or listening to Control Talk Now, Smart Builders video cast and podcast. I am joined, as usual, by the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only Kenny Smyers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Thank you very much, Eric. I tell you what, I'm glad to be here again. It's always a good sign to be up and out for the show. It's a beautiful spring day here in Pittsburgh. It's February 28th. I can't believe it's 55 degrees. It's almost golfing weather, and the birds are Twitter painting. It's just, it's almost spring. What about down here in Georgia?
Well, I hadn't been outside yet. As you know, we've this show's been crazy today. We've been victims of the Skype gods today, so it's been brutal. So Kenny and I've had a long day so far, but hey, it does look like the sun is out outside. So hopefully we'll be getting out here once we get the show done. So what do you say we get on with it, big dog? We got two big guests this week and a lot to cover. So.
We sure do, and we're going to have to go through these posts rather quickly, Eric, because as you said, we have a post with Ed Merwin from Vicon Tritium, and it is just a great update on Ed 4 and the upcoming Niagara Summit 2016. And we also have Tree Sullivan from BuildingContext.me, who gave us a preliminary view and insight into the e-zine coming out for Project Haystack.
Absolutely, Kenny. Well, let's get right to it. So what was our first post, big dog?
Well, the first post was from the COR Advisors. It was the February It was the COR Advisors February webcast, redefining the modern workplace experience. And again, another IoT kind of high-techy, presentation on the technologies that are available to collect and analyze data, and what is necessary out of that data, how to restrict that and filter it to what is important, and where things are happening in the building, how people are actually using the space and where they're located. And so it was a great presentation on the technologies that are available to capture operational and occupancy data, and what the meaning for building owners and managers, tenants, and employees, why they've got to keep using these new tools, because they'll realize greater energy savings and operational savings.
Good stuff, buddy. Good stuff. Well, I know coming up next, we got one of our many awards videos, Kenny. So how should we break that down this week? Should we do them one at a time, or what do you want to do?
Well, I think to give everybody the just due, we should probably just do them one at a time real quick and just shotgun it and let everybody know that there's a beautiful video accompanying this. And we try to highlight the heroes and just the people behind the curtains and to highlight their achievements. So the videos are amazingly well done. Congratulations to you and Control Trend staff for the video content. Because I tell you, it's just so exciting to see people light up when they won the award and they come up and see that great stage presentation that was captured by the video. So the first one is J2 Innovations wins the Visualization Product of the Year. And we see Scott Bench up there with the trophy in his hand, and Jason Briggs was on stage several times for the great achievements that they've done as a team. J2 Innovation is on the roll, and they have a great product that was but was recognized in due turn by the Control Trends community.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Congratulations to them. And what we have up next, Kenny?
Next up, we have TrendSpotters, Eagle Technology. You did this post, so I'm just going to tee it up for you, but it was on the Internet of Drones, and it landed, and why they're the next Internet. Probably the biggest thing that caught my mind was that the industry impacts will be $13.6 billion in the first 3 years and climb to $82.1 billion industry by the year 2025, and it's going to add 103,000 jobs. And what do you think about the drones? And
oh, dude, I'm big time into the drones. And you remember we at Realcomm Ibicon a couple of years ago, we did a whole post and we got a video series on Control Trend showing how they use or can use drones in buildings. Everything from security, first response. You can send a drone up to check things out. They actually showed a video of a drone that was actually cleaning a pipe out, not a pipe, but like a drain. The drone came down and the propeller went. to, I think even one of the guys left his key, needed to take some keys to somebody up on a parking deck. Instead of, walking and doing that, they just put it on a drone and took it out there. So I think we're definitely going to see that. I think Eagle Technologies is an interesting company, Kenny. They're really on the forefront of things. We need to give them more coverage. They send us a lot of stuff. And then finally, we mentioned Scott Minch. Scott Minch is a big-time drone pilot, and he was a little bit disappointed because you can't just go buy a drone anymore, Kenny. I think you got to register it, kind of like a gun, and you got to take training on it. So the drones are coming. The drones are here.
They are definitely going to play a more instrumental role on all the first alert and first responder portions of our society. The police can use them to find out, accident scenes, fire departments to find out if there's actually a fire there, so they can do assessments immediately and get closer for dangerous situations. They don't have to put a human being out there in a line of danger. They can use a drone that can find out what's going on without anybody getting hurt. So I think they just keep on growing. The technology, that's one of those technologies that every time, every year goes by, the innovations are leapfrogging. So what was a cool thing 2 years ago is now old school, heavy, slow, and uses a lot of energy or batteries, where the new ones now are streamlined. They're using all these incredible technologies to lighten the loads and make the batteries go longer. So they go fast and go further distances are increasing exponentially.
Very, very, very cool, Kenny. Very cool. What we have up next, big dog?
Well, this is another on the carpet, the red carpet at the 2015 Control Trends Awards. This was a post you did, a great video work. My compliments to the chef. I know how hard this is, and you really got some really, really cool looking people. These are the heroes and the superstars of our industry. So why don't you tell us about the big night on the red carpet at the celebration of the 2015 Control Trends Awards?
Well, if you've been to Control Trends, you know that Kenny and I try to emulate like the Grammys or the Oscars or whatever. We really want to be a glamorous sort of event where, again, we put down our swords. We compete all year. We put down our swords. We come together one night a year to celebrate our industry and each other. And consequently, we have to give it its due. So we have a red carpet with red carpet interviews. We had models, so if you go to a Control Trends Awards, you're going to have your picture snapped with different models and superheroes. If you're very unfortunate, you get interviewed by me on the red carpet. But it's kind of great. So we sort of put together a compilation of some of the pictures we took on the red carpet. So definitely check it out. I tell you what, our industry is it might not be getting better, but we're getting better looking.
Yeah, that's true, Eric. All right. So, there's some very, very attractive people in that photographic depiction of the Control Trends 2015. You looked really sharp, man. You did a good job. You dressed well for that show. And
well, you too, buddy. You too. And Mike Marston, man, I tell you. And Mark Peacock wore a tuxedo this year. He looked like $1 million in that tuxedo, didn't he? So, we are, as an industry, we clean up really, really well. So, but hey, speaking of cleaning up, Kenny, I'm going to clean something up out right now for our viewers out there. If you're watching the video, I'm very aware that we're coming in and out of sync. It usually happens to a small degree each week. I spend hours trying to get these things edited where we look decent, but I can tell you this week is not going to happen. So you're just going to have to watch us sort of look a little funny this week. But with that, Kenny, let's go to the next.
What's unfortunate about it is it's the bandwidth. We're on prime time Skype time, and there's probably 2 or 3 other million people trying to interrupt our show. No, I'm kidding. Register now for the 2016 Niagara Summit in New Orleans, and most of what we're going to talk about there is going to be included with the interview that we have with Ed Merwin here, very in the near next post. But you got to register by tomorrow evening to take advantage of the early bird registration. And when you hear our interview with Ed, you're going to see why you need to be there. If you're in the business, this is probably the best money you can invest in a trade show because you're going to come away so much more informed and learn so much more about what the power you have underneath the hood of Maverick.
Well, I'll tell you what, speaking of Ed, what do you say we just go ahead and bring him on? I got him right here. Let's bring Ed on. All right, Kenny Smyers, there are many in the controls industry that believe that you are not the man, the myth, the legend that our next guest is. So I'll let you, as the reigning man, the myth, the legend, introduce the other legend.
It's a pleasure, Eric. I'd like to introduce Ed Merwin, Director of Vicon Automation and Security at Tritium. Vicon Automation and Energy at Tritium. Ed is one of the most venerated building automation and smart building solution experts in the industry. He was the Control Trends PID Award winner in 2013 and the PTALK Award winner in 2016, which exemplifies selfless contributions to the industry. So at this time, we'd like to welcome Ed Merwin to the show.
Ed, welcome, my good friend.
Hey, thanks to both of you. Always enjoy coming on and having a chat with you folks.
Yeah, Kenny, I think I'll add to this, and I've said this before publicly, and I'll say it again. I think that without Ed, I'm not sure any of us would be selling much Vicon right now and Tritium stuff, because Ed, you work tirelessly to sort of introduce all of us to Tritium in the marketplace, and your ability to sort of take something that was at the time extremely complex and sort of break it down and communicate it as a way. So I tell you what, if it's okay with you, I think we'll let Kenny be the man, the myth, the legend, and we'll let you be the great communicator. How about that?
That'll work. It's been a fun ride, and it's just been fun making the journey with everybody and see technology take hold, not just our technology, but all the new technologies that are out there today. So,
yeah, well go ahead, Kenny.
Oh, no, I just think it's been a fundamental paradigm change. Niagara has just changed the way the business, the way we do building automation and integration and HVAC in general. And it's growing. It's growing leaps and bounds. And Niagara 4, of course, has just made that an exponential factor. So in fact, I think we should jump kind of into it because we got some really good stuff to talk about. And we got a major event coming up in May 2016, the 15th through the 17th. And we got the summit registration coming to a close here, so the early bird, we want people to jump on that. Tomorrow's your last day to get that early bird special, but this is going to be different. Tell us some really important emphasis on what the emphasis on the technical and developer track is going to be this year at 2016 Niagara Summit.
Yeah, we really felt, we started this at the Niagara Forum in London, where we did a developer boot camp, and amazingly in Europe, we had 150 people attend that developer boot camp, and it was just amazing. And we said, well, we've got to duplicate this when we do this in New Orleans. So what's really nice is from 11 to 3:30 on the Sunday before the formal start of the summit, we're actually going to have that developer boot camp. It's really got some great subjects there. We're going to talk about how you migrate your applications you might have built in AX. We're going to talk about using some new tools that are out there. And certainly I'm not a developer, but I understand that the building N4 on Gradle and something called IntelliJ will make developing a lot easier. They're going to talk about app development, UI development, and advanced visualization and all the different tools. So everybody's really excited. So the developer boot camp will just allow people to focus all day on that and still get to go to the applications tracks that a lot of developers like to go to both. Now they don't have to make a choice whether they go through the developer track or the applications track. So we're really excited about that. So the applications track, I'm sorry, go ahead, Kenny.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
So on the applications track, early on, we got with some of the key people, and this is being led by James Johnson, so it has to be good when he's leading the charge for the applications track. But he got together with a lot of the folks at Tritium and in the industry, and we said we have to come up with a track that if I go there, I want to bring my PC, my laptop, and I want to sit down and really get deeply into the new applications in Niagara 4. So what's nice, the app track is going to be 7 deep dive subjects. And the cool thing is we're going to repeat it so that if somebody misses one and wants to go to some other track, they'll have a chance to get into these different programs. And we don't have to worry about overflow in the room. Last time, these tracks were really popular. So we want to make sure we have plenty of room and plenty of chance for people to see them. But we're going to cover some things like web technology, HTML5, and the new dashboards that are built in Niagara 4. We're going to talk about analytics, of course, which everybody's trying to understand. We'll go into the tagging and hierarchy. And what's really nice about this, we have a lot of really key people, not only just James Johnson, but Rick Wosensale is going to participate in doing a lot of that tagging and hierarchy and searching. Then Ross Schwam, who is a new employee. He's one of those young guns that we've been all talking about and that we're really happy to come in. And Ross is going to help us with the analytics and some of the other subjects as well. So So we're gonna talk about cybersecurity. Okay, we're gonna talk about how do you harden your N4 application and your AX application for that matter. So that's becoming so important. We'll talk about converting your AX to to N4. How you go about planning and doing that. What are the keys? Also have an introduction to developing. Some of these people will be very intimidated and may not want to go to the developer boot camp, but we encourage them to go anyway because I think they'll learn something. But for those that just want to learn some of the real basics of developing, James Johnson's going to lead a nice track on intro to developing. So, and one of the most important things we'll talk about is templates. The cool thing about N4 is now you can build a template for a product or a device or a software application. And when Niagara goes out and discovers it, let's just say we take a cool thermostat application that there's so many of them out there, so many smart thermostats. If I have a template, it'll automatically see the device, it'll substantiate all the points, it'll add all the tags to the system, create the graphics and any logic, and frankly, within seconds, it will be brought into your Niagara 4 application, and you can start working with it right away. So we'll go into the details of how you build a template, which is really quite easy. Even somebody like me can do that, and then how you utilize that. So it's really exciting and very powerful tool that we built in. So we'll go into this deep dive. So the real point here is if you're coming to the summit, bring your application engineers with you. I really think it's going to be it's really worth it. You're going to get a lot, you're going to get a half day of developing and 7 really hardcore hours of technical training, and you just can't beat it. I'm really excited about it. And James,
Ed, I gotta hop in because I tell you what, I think this is. I'm going to give people the real justification for going. Okay, I mean, and first of all, you got to go because with Niagara 4 and all, I mean, you guys are all over it. I'm hearing great things about Niagara 4 in the marketplace. We'll talk about that in a minute. But for all you business owners out there, Ed mentioned a very, very good point. It's kind of like the old sales thing. Don't think 1, don't think 2, think 3 or more. And the reason being, think about it. If you got really good people, you want to keep them motivated. And what better motivation to go get to hear Ed and James Johnson? But the real motivation is the venue. Because you take your employees to New Orleans, they'll remember you forever. They'll work hard. They'll learn stuff. And the bad ones, bring the bad ones along too, because you can get them thrown in jail down there, right, Ed, if you need to. So it's a great way to weed out the old and weed in the new. But in all seriousness, Ed, I mean, there's no doubt about it from just the content you guys are creating. But let's talk just a bit about the venue, because I tell you what, I think you and Jenny were responsible for that. So tell us about the venue.
Well, I mean, I think we looked at a lot of different venues, and people said, we've been to the West Coast, we've been to the East Coast, how about somewhere in the middle? And New Orleans works out really well. First of all, the city is rebuilt now beautifully. They've done just a fabulous job. We're at the New Orleans Hyatt, which is right there in the middle of everything. It's a beautiful property, just been renovated. We have the entire property. We're going to have the opening event at Champion Square, which is the square right there beside the Superdome and the hotel. And it's also an inside-outside venue. We'll have jazz bands there. So like you said, not only are you going to bring your people along to learn something, and they will, I assure you they will, they're going to have a great time. So where else can you go get a lot of really good training and have a great time as well? And then one of the most important things is the networking side of this. So when you're not in the training, you're talking with all the young guns are going to be getting together, and they'll be talking to some of the old guns and learning a lot. So it's really just a lot of excitement. And I don't think anybody really ever leaves a summit not saying, I really learned something. I've made some new connections. I know people that made connections at summits 10 years ago, and they still work back and forth together. They trade applications together. So I think it's just a really good and important meeting for people to attend, and I think they'll really enjoy it.
No, I think they will too, Ed. And I got to tell a quick story here real quick, because this gives you a flavor for New Orleans, right? So I had a buddy of mine I went to high school with. He wound up going to Tulane University. So we were down there several years ago. I call him up, and he says, dude, you got to go to a place called the Funky Butt. Just ask anybody. They'll tell you how to get there, right? And I'm thinking, this guy's a jokester. Is he kidding? Is this for real or whatever? So I work up my courage and ask, okay? Somebody directs me to this place. It's Wynton Marsalis's brother, okay? And it's literally like you're in a house. I'm sitting literally, Ed, on a couch, probably 5 feet away from some of the best jazz music I've ever heard in my life. So, I mean, that's sort of some of the stuff you get in New Orleans you can't get any other place in the world. So I keep going back to think of this as a team building exercise, right?
That's a great comment, Eric. It really is. I think this is going to be the best venue we've had and some of the best content we've ever had. It's really exciting, and encourage people that, like you said, the early bird ends on Monday evening. And by the way, we have people that are signing up like crazy. So we already have a lot of signups, a lot of people interested. We're going to announce who the sponsors and all the booths are. That's going to be coming up this week. And so again, a lot of people are going to be introducing some new products at the show, we understand. So I think it's going to be an important place to be. And we've had a lot of people tell us that they really like coming to our show because the best of the best are there. People already understand our business, and they know when you show them your product, they get it right away. So,
well, cycling back to that thing that Eric said about bringing more than one employee, I really think it's vital to bring multiple people from organizations, because I know the technical track's very good, and I know the developing track is going to be very interesting. And who wants to miss James Johnson when he's going to show you some of the revelations of the feature benefits of Niagara 4? But that business track is equally important. And I know for our standpoint, I mean, we got to tell a story, and the story's changed. The evolution of controls and HVAC and building automation, we're just leapfrogging forward with technology. I think it's very important to have a representative in the business track. Tell us about the business and marketing tracks.
Yeah, we really have two additional tracks. We call it the technology trends, where we bring in people from outside to tell us about, what's going on in the industry. People from outside of our industry that are on the edge now. Now, we used to say Cisco and IBM were outside our industry. Well, they're in with both feet in our industry today, right? So, but the idea is we want people from the outside to let us know where the general business or technology is going, and those will be exciting tracks. And on the business side, we want people to understand, how can I use Niagara 4 and the technology to really enhance my business and understand what's going on. So that's really set up for the executives, for salespeople and operations people as well, because we'll talk about, how do I take my R2 system and get it up to N4? What are the things I have to worry about? How do I do it? We'll have people that have already done that there, and they'll be explaining how they made that transition. We'll talk about Niagara security at a higher level, cybersecurity in general. And the other thing we're revisiting is lighting. With the changes with LEDs, and we're seeing all the lighting people come into our business now, there's a whole new way of looking at lighting. The lighting people are very interested in building automation and vice versa. So we're bringing in some executives to revisit what is going on with lighting, and that technology is changing. That's going from a commodity to a solutions now. And again, we'll talk about deployment models, and we'll bring in, the whole idea of the business track is we want people who are end users talking about how they're utilizing Niagara and technology. So that's the emphasis. It's not going to be people trying to sell you something. It's going to be people telling you how they were successful in creating smart buildings. We've even got one on smart building design, where we have some of the top consulting engineers in the country in smart buildings that will be on a program there as well. So again, the business and the new trends, technology tracks, we're very excited about those as well.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I want to hop in on that, because I tell you what, I've been to a bunch of them. It is the best investment. If you can only do one conference this year, this is the one to do. And you made a great point. I mean, I've never felt like you guys are ever trying to sell anything. You guys are there to educate. And the business tracks, like Kenny was saying, are fantastic, because you learn about markets that you may or may not be in. So it's invaluable. And listen, I wanted to shift gears just for a second and talk, because one of the trends Kenny and I are tracking, as you may or may not know, we do a lot on the industrial side of the business. Kenny does too, and some of our other distributor brethren do as well. We see a trend towards Niagara being and some of the other, building automation products becoming an absolute essential part of industrial applications. I think we've talked ad nauseum on the show about Scott Cochran and what he's done with the car manufacturers in terms of gathering data. Could you speak for a minute, Ed, a little bit about the trends you're seeing and some of the applications you're seeing on the industrial side of the house?
That's a great one, a great question, because we're seeing it as well. It's actually in the business track. We actually have a very nice industrial track where we're actually going to talk about Niagara in aerospace plant. We're going to talk about it in a paper plant, and we're going to talk about it in a food bottling, bottling operation. So, and the idea is, it's industrials have been creating and making their products forever, and they've been using PLCs. But what the industry and the industrials are understanding is, you know what, that's not necessarily helping my value. I've got to visualize what's going on my plant floor better so I can optimize it. So we've got a really exciting story about aerospace where they were having a lot of issues with trying to scrap a lot of jobs because the machines just weren't optimized. We were able to go in there and in a project, they were able to install some Niagara and some visualization, saved them tremendous amounts of money. It had nothing to do with energy or meters. It all had to do with actually letting the people on the plant floor better know what's going on inside their machinery. So to see it in a paper plant, in an aerospace plant, in bottling facilities, we're just trying to show, hey, this is really where the new frontier. And there's not a lot of people that understand how to do that. And the industrials are seeking top-notch system integrators to do this.
Well, yeah, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say for our industrial listeners in the Control Trends community, on top of all that, the big plus is you're probably going to spend about a tenth of what it would cost to go with the traditional industrial application. That's the experiences and the feedback we're getting from other distributors. It's the cost point is just phenomenal. So you get a better solution that in terms of visualization, more data, easier to understand, easier to work with, and at the same time, you're spending about a tenth of the cost.
Yeah, I think the paradigm is that it used to be in an industrial plant, there was a central control room and 2 or 3 people managed everything. Now the whole idea is get the data to the people on the floor, making the devices and doing the manufacturing and really hit it hard there instead of just watching for alarms to come in. So it's a great point, Eric, and we're able to do it very cost effectively.
Well, and I see the things we just said right here are very, very exciting because number one, you said that how this is a view from outside letting us know. And then we're seeing how the Niagara 4 is allowing things that were traditionally non-building automation systems or BMS systems are now optimizing using the Niagara 4. And I know from my own experience that Niagara 4, what's being done here is taking us into the future. So this is going to be a great opportunity, just kind of the IoT style of Niagara 4. So True Team's done a great job. And what do you see as being the most immediate horizon? I know we were talking about data centers, we were talking about infrastructure, we were talking about smart cities, we were talking about smart grid, and we were talking about ADR. And now we're going beyond that. So in summary, where do you see Niagara 4 in the next...
Well, 2 ways. We're going to go smaller, which is what we call the edge, and we have something called Niagara Portability. With N4, you can now take N4 and put it on your own device. So if you want to put Niagara on your VAV box controller, your plant controller, it's portable. We can, the code has been kind of refactored such that it will work on, the processors today is so powerful. The processor on your VAV box is almost as powerful as a PC now. And then we're moving things up higher to the enterprise, and everybody wants to talk about the cloud, but we'll also be talking about what does the cloud really mean? It's really services that are out there. So, hey, maybe I'm a church and I can just backed up, every week automatically somewhere in the cloud, and I know it's safe. So I think what we're saying is we're moving to smaller footprints and then to larger footprints. That's real, and footprints that may not be within your facility. So that's what's really exciting. I think we've done a really good job on the middleware side, and now we're just expanding lower and higher. And we kind of, Nino said that at the last summit, that's where we're going. And we're going to be able to show you some good examples of that at this summit.
Very, very cool, Ed. Well, listen, I want to shift gears again real quick and thank you guys again for your support of the Control Trends Awards. Man, it was awesome. And without enlightened companies like Tritium helping sponsor that, it just doesn't happen. And congratulations to you guys for all the great awards that you won.
Well, we appreciate that. Those events are really good. I have to tell you, that's the reason we go to ASHRAE, right? It's important because we're taking a part of the ASHRAE community and putting the emphasis it deserves, right? And the Control Trends, you guys have done a great that together. I really love the venue and how it was done, and we appreciate what you're doing. And I really appreciate the emphasis on the young guns. There's so many great young people that are coming into our business. They're teaching us old dogs a lot of new tricks, and I really appreciate it. They're exciting. They're sponges that want to learn. So it's good, exciting time in the industry, and we want to keep pushing that. And we hope people will bring a lot of these young guns to the summit, and I think they'll add a huge amount of it and have a good as well. So.
Awesome. Well, I got to tell you, you met Samir Pradham, our guy in India, at the Control Trends Awards, and he launched the Control Trends India website, Ed, about 2 weeks ago. We launched that. He was just at the ACRIC show, which is their version of ASHRAE for the Middle East. So, hey, if you want to say hi, because I know they'll be watching in India. If you want to say hi to our folks in India, they're all getting on board now with Niagara and seeing that solution. So for our Indian community, this is the guy right here, Ed Merwin. So say hi to everybody, Ed.
Hi to everybody. I want to say, I really appreciate what they're trying to do. And frankly, India has been kind of ahead of the game in many cases. People, we've done a lot of work with Niagara in India, and people really get smart buildings. They could teach us in the U.S. a lot of lessons there. So we're really excited that they're excited about this business, and we appreciate it. And just so much things that can be done, so much energy to be saved. And so many just great universities and great engineering types and technologies that are coming out of India. It's really an amazing place for technology nowadays, and anything we all can do to help, we're there to do that.
Well, I tell you what, Ed, we've got a goal. 2 years from now, we'll be doing the first Control Trends Awards in India, an Indian version, and we're going to twist your arm to come over and present like the Integrator of the Year award. So we'll go hang out in India together. What do you think?
Okay, that's cool. Look forward to it. I'll get it on my calendar.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Ed. I don't think we can get much better than that, Eric, for a close, because we got a summary from the inside, and it's going to be a spectacular event, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, Ed. It's going to be great. Thanks for taking a few minutes to speak with us. And listen, we love having you on the show. So anytime you have a few minutes, we'd love to get you on. And listen, you talk about those young guns. If there are any young guns out there that can make Skype work, Kenny, I, and Ed will pay you a bunch of money. All right, Ed. Thanks again, buddy.
Oh, I can't wait. The Champions Plaza is really, really a fancy place. I looked it up while we were talking. And I just couldn't help. But it is, of course, it was rebuilt, redone, and it's the place to be in New Orleans. And quite frankly, I've been to New Orleans a few times, but not during the, it was always on the going from one place to another and just a flyby through it. I didn't get to spend any time. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Big Doug, what do we have up next?
All right. Well, we have consecutive Control Trends Awards highlights. The first one being the highlight for the Lighting Integration Solution of the Year, which was shared by Blue Ridge Technologies and Siemens Gamma. And this is an area where we just heard Ed say recently in the interview that they're going to relook at lighting. It's going to go from being a commodity to being a solution, and that's a really cool thing to hear because there's just so much energy savings to be done. We still invite the whole industry at large and anybody out there, any of the government people that can help us solve light litter. I'd sure like to help you achieve that because the other day I drove through sections of this highways and the entire 2-mile stretch of lights on across on both sides of the highway. So, I mean, it's got to cost more than a dime, don't you think?
No, they do. And for our listeners out there who might not know, light litter is a term that Kenny coined several years back. And it's essentially, we've all seen it. It's the middle of the day. It's a beautiful sunshiny day. And there are lights on. There might be, street lights or whatever. We see it everywhere. And, Kenny and I sort of went on a crusade with that. We actually created a website called the Green Marines on Facebook. And, so it's, and I think you did an estimate once, Kenny. I think it was like, what? Was something. Well, it was outrageous how much they're spending on.
Well, I took it from a study that the potential savings is in the billions, and it's the wasted lights across the states, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, and it came out of a lighting site where it was a government site where they're encouraging for everybody to get with the program because this is very fixable. These technologies are very everyone's grasp. So but
this is low hanging fruit, dude.
I mean, it is. It really. We're talking relays off one and clocks that lightning strikes or whatever happens. But we have a power failure, and half of the cities or neighborhoods' lights go out of whack because of time clock didn't have power for several hours. It comes on, so the lights are on during the day and not on during the night, and it needs to be fixed.
I'm kind of surprised this has not come up on the presidential debates. You know, I mean, who do you think could jump on this first, Hillary or Trump?
Did you say that the football game starts at 1:00?
Yeah. What's up next, Kenny? I mean, this is, like I say, this is just a no-brainer. But unfortunately, I see most of the places that I see that are violators of this in Atlanta anywhere, the city buildings and the parking lots for the city. I mean, they're just the lights are on 24/7. Huh?
That's what really hurts. It's tax money that it's wasted. It could be going somewhere else.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. So just to summarize, Blue Ridge Technologies, Unified Lighting One, because they complete the BAS, they incorporate lighting and HVAC controls from the same network, eliminating surplus hardware and other installation costs. Siemens Gamma, their view on this is they provide precisely what your building occupants need, nothing more, nothing less. It's a new integrated control system that can achieve a significant energy savings, and it's associated with Siemens. It's a great brand label out there, and congratulations to both of those winners.
No, absolutely. All right, Kenny Smyers. I know we did a lot of awards this week. What do we have up next?
Well, we got Belimo. And I'll tell you what, who does it better than Belimo when it comes to best technical support? The look on Gary's face, it just tells it all. Belimo works hard, and they deserved the opportunity for being recognized as a global technical support large manufacturer company, and they won the award. And congratulations to Gary Weber and the outstanding team at Belimo.
Oh, absolutely. They have a fantastic team there. So, and then we roll from them, Kenny. Our big news, tell them about, I think we got to spend some time talking about this. Our man in India, Samir Pradhan.
Well, Samir Pradhan, the director of Control Trends India and the managing director of CICC Automation Technologies, it just did an incredible job at the ACREX 2016 in Mumbai. And he interviews the top, probably the C-level and even larger, the government level, the people that ran the ACREX, the people that are managing the Smart City Initiative in India, where 100 cities are going to be brought online. And it's a very aggressive and very progressive attempt to bring their grid up to standards that will exceed our standards, because they have the benefit of being new, and they're going to use new technologies. And so what Samir did was he captured many of the leading players and the principals of the top companies in India that are going to make it happen. So it was a fabulous thing. We're going to have probably 7 more videos after this one. So it's just this is just the tip of the iceberg. And for our viewers that have an interest in India, and the manufacturers, vendors, and solution providers that have an interest in India, we have a for you in India, and his name is Samir Pradhan, and he is our director of Control Trends India. Yeah,
and if you want to check that site out, it's controltrends.in. And Samir will be posting, we'll post some of the content Samir has, but he's got extensive coverage of this ACREX show. So you'll be able to see the different players that make things happen in India. All right, so with all the stuff going on in the HVAC and smart buildings Control Trends community, where do you go to find out where you need to be and when you need to be there? Well, we've got a little segment called Ken's Calendar.
It's time for Ken's Calendar. Get all the information you need on upcoming events, including training classes, webinars, and conferences. All the event news you need right here, right now. Take it away, Ken.
Kenny, let's hear what's happening on Ken's calendar this week.
All right, Eric. Well, it's an extensive list, and we do our absolute best to track things down. But this month of March is going to be madness, not just with basketball. There are so many things going on in March. We have Sierra Motors Corporation's webinar, Taking Advantage of the IoT Opportunity. This will be March 9th, 2016, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this is going to give you an opportunity to develop new business models by taking advantage of the emerging IoT and the IIoT opportunities. Next up, we have the March 16th, 2016 Building Energy Summit. It's going to be held at Ronald Reagan's Building at International Trade Center, D.C. That's March 16th. And then immediately following in the same neighborhood, you have the NFTP. It's in Baltimore, and that's March 22nd through the 24th. And that's going to be at the Baltimore Convention Center. And this is a gigantic show, tremendous networking, and a lot of vendors. So that's a good show to see. We next have the CABA has their at the Handlery, Handlery Hotel in San Diego, California, their Intelligent Buildings and Digital Home Forum. You don't want to miss that if you're in the neighborhood. CABA does a great job, and it's the same at the home in the residential markets. And then wrapping up our Ken's calendar for February 28th is the Niagara Summit 2016. A reminder, a heavy-handed reminder that May 15th through the 18th in New Orleans at the Hyatt Regency, and we're going to have the 2016 Niagara Summit, and hopefully you've had listened to Ed Merwin give you the compelling information and read Jenny Graves' compelling information why business owners need to have their people there, because this is what's happening in the smart building, intelligent, connected world.
Absolutely, Kenny Smyers. There you go. So now you're informed. You know where you need to go. You know where you need to be. Again, special thanks to Ken for Ken's calendar.
Indeed, Eric. And then we're going to see some more of our highlight reels. We hope that all the Control Trends community members have an opportunity to just see these things. You kept them very good, short snippets to capture the award recipient coming up on that stage, and it was a heck of a stage. So this one, the next one up, we have the best technical support from a small manufacturer, which is the Blue Ridge Technologies. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those folks and the gentleman that received the award?
Well, I tell you what, Bill Duckelberger is one of my favorite people in the industry. Bill's here. Blue Ridge is right up the road from us. Bill is a guy I just have tremendous respect for. I mean, he's a guy actually started, I think, sweeping the floors at ALC, wound up becoming the CEO of it before he left and went with United Technologies. And then from there, he sort of looked at lighting and realized that lighting was a lot more complicated than it needed to be, especially for building systems integrator. So he created Blue Ridge Technologies, and these guys, Kenny, I tell you, man, they are dialed into how to do lighting control with BAS systems, quality products, easy to use. Encourage you to check these guys out, BlueRidgeTechnologies.com. And if you get a chance to meet Bill or Rocky Moore or any of the folks over there, Vince Dees, they just do a fabulous job. And, Bill reminds me a lot of another one of our favorite executives, Terry Swope from Linkspring. I mean, just a straight shooter. I think they both ride Harleys or did. So both cool guys.
Indeed, Eric. And then we go to another highlight reel, and this is again one of our probably most successful vendor manufacturers of a product of all time. So we say congratulations to EasyIO. These are the 4-time Control Trends Building Automation Plant Equipment Controller of the Year. And the FG32 Plus didn't really surprise anybody because it has such a global attention, and this global community expressed its continued recognition of EasyIO's powerful open automation and combined area controller capabilities and the features that it has inherent to it. As a web browser already there, has built-in I/O already there, huge data loading capacity with an SD card already there, and it has the multiple concurrent protocol and services, which is BACnet, Modbus, TCOM, and both server client services for BACnet, and they're certified BTL. So it's just altogether a champion controller that just it's going to be hard to beat because they just every year they keep upping the ante in hardware, software, and in one unit. So well done, EasyIO.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Gordon Chen, Mike Marston, Lem Hunchat, SK Food, the rest of the crew over there, Johan Nishakarad, they do a fantastic job, Kenny. And a little bit like when we were talking with Ed about how the Niagara framework's making its way into the industrial market because it's able to do more for less money and easier to use. We're seeing that EasyIO plant controller being used in all kinds of industrial applications now as well. I mean, they got to do everything from controlling microbreweries to other things. So I think it's just another trend we're spotting where the technologies in our industry, the building automation, smart buildings technology are migrating to being used in industrial applications. So So again, congratulations to those guys. And Kenny, speaking of trends, let's bring our next guest on.
I'd love to, Eric. Our next guest is Therese Sullivan, founder of BuildingContext.me. Therese has come up with an amazing launch of Haystack Connection Zine. This is a seminal document that's going to change our understanding of Project Haystack. It's one of the most useful research papers I've ever read. It's cool. It's new. It's current. It has an interactive PDF style format, and I just want Therese to say a little bit more about it herself. Therese, welcome to the show.
Hey,
Hi,
welcome, Therese.
Thanks for that great introduction, Kenny. Yep, we're very proud of getting this publication out there. I worked closely with Mark Patak and John Petsy to gather all that information. It's got tutorials, it's got news. It really represents, I think, of something the industry has been working together on since 2011. And I don't think we realize until you put it all in one place how much progress we've made as a yes. So I think that the new interactive PDF format is really cool. I think that it brings in the ability to just in one click get back to stories on automated buildings, get back to stories in ASHRAE Journal. And I leaned heavily, actually, I don't know if you guys noticed this when you read the quotes in there, on listening to Control Trends podcasts. Podcasts like the one that you did with Scott Minch, talked about Haystack. And I regularly listen to you guys on a Sunday or a Monday. And when I'd hear Haystack, I'd scribble a note. And those pulling together even that multimedia content that you guys create was super fun to do in this format.
Well, Therese, we really appreciate it for sure. And I want to echo what Kenny said. I mean, you talk about an innovative way to use different formats. I mean, we're big fans of your work, and what you're doing is very innovative. And are you still doing the flip books?
I am still doing the flip books because it's a different purpose. It's just when you see any article that you go, oh, we need that one too, because our industry touches on so many disciplines, so many different technologies that you need to gather them up somewhere. My colleague Ken Sinclair, he likes Pinterest, and basically he uses it the same way I use Flipboard.
Yeah, who would have thought Ken Sinclair would be into Pinterest of all things? Huh? I mean,
that's what the ladies who knit use, Ken.
Yeah, I keep trying to tell, but the thing about Ken is that Ken Sinclair can make anything cool, right? So I might have to get a Pinterest account just because Ken Sinclair's using it.
But he too finds like when you see stuff, you got to have some place to put it so you don't lose it.
Well, you really do. And it's almost like, one of the themes I think is going to come out on this show, and I think it does very nicely into Haystack Connect, is there's so much information out there. So it's not ever a question of can you find the answer. It's how quickly you can find it. And it's almost like we're all suffering from information overload. So things like Flipboard.
That is definitely a theme. And that's a theme inside the magazine itself. Is one of the things that Haystack does is it allows people in our industry, smart building system integrators, to manage overflow of data, to get the information they want from that, and I say waterfall of data that we're up against. And I use that as a theme in the zine, in the Project Haystack.
Well, Teresa, we'll circle back to the contents of the e-zine. You start with a great welcome, Haystack around the world. You summarize a lot of things, and then you bring in tutorials, resources, the Haystack news, the upcoming events, milestone achieved, the directory, and then the editor's note, which I thought was awesome. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, hang on, Kenny, real quick. Also, she had a really, really cool analogy that I tell you what, this analogy is so cool and so apropos. And Therese, I tell you what, that's one of the things we love about you is your cleverness. So I think, Kenny, what do you say we offer the first person that reaches out and comments with the correct analogy that we give them a ticket to the Control Trends Awards next year in Las Vegas, which we've already booked the venue at the Hard Rock. And we'll give you a hint. It, like Haystack, it has to do with exploring. So if you can tell us what that is, and first person reaches out and comments with that, we will give you a ticket. And with that, Therese, actually, we'll give you 2 tickets because there were 2 of these guys, right? Or girls. or people. All right. So now, Kenny, ask the question again. So tell us what the article is about. Is that it?
Well, large amounts of data is where we kind of Teresa led us into that, and it's just an amazing thing. So I would like to hear Teresa tell us a little bit about how you managed to put this all together, and again the interactive PDF. But what was your main thrust? What were you trying to get accomplished with your document, or the easy?
Well, if we could go back a second to what we learned about Flipboard and Pinterest and how we're all being overwhelmed by so much data. I sort of have my feedback from our industry on the Flipboard was like, especially from, can I say millennials or the young guns in our industry, was like, this is how we like to get information. We like it, the little bit. Give us the cookie crumb. If we want to eat the whole cookie, then we'll eat the whole cookie. If we want a cake or a complete meal, we'll go down. They wanted that ability to hunt down how interested they are in something. So really, you could almost consider it a wrapper around all this information. It gives you in one publication the ability to navigate. If you're interested in a case study, go down and read the case study. One of the case studies in there that I do have an advantage here because I have some really cool clients for my marketing content business, like Alturo Associates, like BASSG, and I'm getting all these deep things. So one of the things in there was that because it took this long, about 6 months worked on getting a story in ASHRAE Journal. And it is a great detailed case study of building commissioning, smart commissioning, using data analytics, and moving the analytics into the operations and maintenance phase of the building. If you want to dig down and read that whole case study, the links are there. If you just want to look at a picture of the building, and say, "Oh, this is the cool quote that came from that whole exercise that Alturo is doing. Here's the quote of where they see the industry going." So that's how the information is presented. It's presented in kind of like this very visual and hierarchical way.
Kind of like Haystack itself.
Kind of like Haystack itself.
So, Therese, and one of the another reason we love talking to you is, you sort of have the perspective of multiple industries. I mean, you've been around Silicon Valley, you've done a lot of different things, and I think one of the things,
database stuff with IBM, I've done that for 6 years.
Right. So, I got questions for you, but I want to start with. And this is a term that I never can pronounce correctly, so Kenny's going to correct me as soon as I say it. But it's what's interesting in our industry is that you've got people that compete fiercely, almost on a daily basis, that have come together to develop this protocol, which is better for the industry. And what's our term, Ken?
Co-opetition.
Co-opetition. So have you seen things like this in other industries? And do you think this is a trend that we'll continue to see in the building automation controls industry?
I think, yes, in the wider building Internet of Things, not just buildings, Internet of Things, but in the general Internet of Things area, this idea of open source, working together on specifically the semantic web, it's much bigger than Haystack. But building out our part, we seem to really be unique and farther ahead than a lot of the other industries. I mean, for example, if you went last week to the Mobile World Conference that happens every year in Europe, I think Barcelona, you have Ericsson, all the big mobile companies, and Google, and so Ericsson, just all those mobile companies. They're addressing the same problem. That was one of the biggest topics there too, is the semantic web. How do you work together so that people can go farther in this Internet of Things area without the protocol mess? And so, yeah, it's happening in every area of IT. I would say we're farther ahead.
Well, it's interesting to me, and it almost makes me wonder if to survive in today's, it sounds like in any industry, but to survive in today's environment, if you're not sort of adopting that mindset, which seems like it's two separate concepts. I'm going to compete with you and try and take you out, but at the same time, I'm going to work with you. I wonder if you can survive if you don't understand that. And I wonder if that's going to become a major in college or something like that. I mean, I wonder if that's going to be like almost a skill in itself and a strategic, type position as well.
Yeah,
It did
I
come
know
out of
that.
Harvard. Yeah, it was a study.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Therese, like you're saying, and I really, I love talking to you because, again, it's semantic web, and you go further with less protocols. So what we're seeing here then, Project Haystack represents the BAS and BMS worlds, the HVAC worlds, falling in line with that Internet of Things with the semantic web. And so this is an inevitability that's going to be, it's going to impact every industry. And we're actually in a little bit of a lead here because our industry is starting to get it through the collaboration processes. Like Ken St. Clair always advocates, collaboration gives such an immediate, fix to something that one manufacturer, one vendor can't do. But getting everybody's attention there, getting everybody lined up with their resources and their sweet spots and their intelligence, you get things done so much faster and so much better done because everybody kind of agreed with it at the initial effort.
Yeah, I mean the buildings world itself, if you just think about the traditional design, construction, operation, and maintenance cycle, that's a lot of, and you think about it in terms of the semantic web, that's a lot of vocabulary. That's a big piece of the pie. But then when you think, oh, in that world, you're building hospitals and healthcare facilities, and so there you're touching on the healthcare Internet of Things and all the devices and wearables that everybody expects to come out of applying this data-driven approach to healthcare. We know that inside buildings are garages, and that's where cars are going to be, and that's where we're going to have our car chargers in the big commercial buildings, and that brings you into the smart grid. And while those are all sort of separate areas on their own, they come together in buildings. So the real challenge is you can't think of any of these things totally exclusively. Another person and thought leader is Toby Considine on the topic. He was always so involved in OBIX and the semantic web. I mean, he's been talking about this longer and explained, I think, in my October editorial about all these dictionaries have to come together and there won't be one universal ontology, but we'll have a better way of saying, what dictionary does this come from? You're going to make a quote. Does it come from the King James Bible, or does it come from Oxford Dictionary or Webster's Dictionary? You're going to have some sort of thing in the name, a thing being a prefix
tag
or a suffix, a tag that says what dictionary this comes from. And so,
well, and you actually have the great link, just to extol the virtues of your document. You actually have those that wish to understand data semantics at a deeper level. You have a www.gnosis.org. So, I mean, so anybody that's interested, please visit our site or go to Theresa's site and get this document as soon as possible, because then you can just keep digging, like Teresa said. But
yeah, well, you can, Teresa. And listen, so I want to just take it to a whole nother level. So now we're getting all this data, right? And, we've seen the trend with great companies like Sky Foundry and J2 Innovations, DG Logics, and all those people. You're taking the data and you're doing stuff with where you can use it and make decisions. And here's a trend. Kenny and I had a chance to interview a guy named Dr. Igor Mezic and John Morris a couple of weeks ago on the show. Don't know if you saw it or not, but they're big into artificial intelligence. They think that's the next big thing. So what are you hearing about that, and sort of how do you see it fitting in our industry?
Yeah. I think it's great. And I think it is, it's where the general world of, with all the robotics here in Silicon Valley, I think that the discussion of machine learning in every field is becoming more prevalent. And I have a very simplistic way of looking at it and I think the three of us know enough because we do this website work about what happened in search, what really happened in the last 15 years in search. And we know that there was all the documents let's say, cluttered on the floor. And maybe Yahoo was one of the first to say, let's take everybody's putting up these websites. It's all in HTML. Let's make a list in the sky. And the people at Google looked at that and looked at what, I can't remember the names, but all the other Yahoo kind of companies that were making lists of all the websites that were searchable. And the guys at Google, the Sergey Brin and Larry Page, looked at that and said, oh, let's put PageRank in there. Let's not just give a list in the sky. Let's give an algorithm that says, for this type of search, what are the most return, they 4 factors, and then that's what PageRank was, 4 factors and how they rank up in real time. And so PageRank was such an innovation on what Yahoo had done. Then you had something like Facebook and said, oh, that was really cool. All the papers were all over the floor. Someone structured the data. And now we've got PageRank. That's so powerful. Let's get all the people, the commons again, to put all their information in order. And they got the college students first to say what, and run an algorithm against that and give you your Facebook feed. And so that leap to artificial intelligence is kind of what PageRank did, is run an algorithm against it, and don't put, for your variables that determine those, don't put static data in it. Make that an algorithm too.
So so it seems like, and Kenny, correct me if you're wrong, and Teresa, I don't know whether I got this right or not, but to me, like, what Yahoo did and all that to me would be equate to like a rules-based thing. If this, then that. And it sounds like what Igor was saying was that they're writing an algorithm that doesn't necessarily even pick the parameters. It looks at a whole bunch of parameters and then sort of artificially figures out what those connections are. So he's saying that they can see connections and possible stress points that you can't get, through even the rules base. So I'm wondering if this time next year rules base is going to be obsolete.
Well, you're right, because when he said he wrote an algorithm, become domain based. So if you knew your domain well enough, you could take the components of your domain and put it in this algorithm and then come up with optimality. So it was like a different direction than rules based, because it could apply to engines for aircraft. It could apply to diagnosing heart's failure, and predicting stuff. It was an amazing algorithm. We just got a tip of the iceberg on it, but.
Yeah, well, and Kenny, it's like Teresa, a book Kenny and I have gotten really into is a book called Bold, B-O-L-D. I don't know whether you've read it yet or not, but it's really talking about the trends of the future. And they're talking about artificial intelligence has sort of been redefined from, doing repetitive tasks over and over to actually being able to have cognitive recognitions and stuff like that, where if the trend goes the way he's seeing it, the artificial intelligence is going to be able to think better than we can and make connections that we can't. So it's an interesting time to be in our industry, I think. So,
yeah, I see that that the data coming from being all over the floor and not structured to becoming more structured through things like Project Haystack. And in other industries too, what they're doing in smart grid and what they're doing in health, it's becoming more structured. And once you get that structured data, you can climb on the shoulders of the algorithm before you to say, oh, what are the important factors?
It's kind of cool in a way if you think about back in the days when we were all doing signs and symbols and stuff like that. And then, over the course of probably hundreds of thousands of years, we eventually developed language, right? Where we gave common meaning to things. And it seems like we're almost doing that again with this whole smart buildings and Internet of Things and data stuff, huh?
Yeah. Or like when I was doing math, Pythagoras' theorem. You think, you get that in third grade or whatever. And then you realize everything that was really built on Pythagoras' theorem, the whole science of calculus and et cetera. And the idea of, for me, it's kind of like this, what's PageRank? It's a differential equation. And what's the difference between a rule-based and machine learning? It's a differential equation inside a differential equation. Not only do you have the 4 most important factors, how many times it was mentioned, what's your geography, whatever those 4 factors were that they decided these are the best results to show you at this moment.
Well, hey, Teresa,
it's that all that stuff is changing. It's like a differential equation inside a differential equation.
Right. So, Teresa, in your article, the last couple of paragraphs, you were talking about an event that you went to. I think Jim Young was at out in Silicon Valley. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I almost feel like we'll give them a little plug. It was a warm-up exercise for Realcomm, IBCon Silicon Valley, which is coming up in June.
You going to be there this year?
Totally, because I live around here.
Awesome! Well, we'll come see you.
Yeah, of course. So I think that Jim Young is spending a little bit more time up here, but I think that this, the VLab thing, we have a lot of meetups around here. And of course, it's very exciting. There's so much technology happening in Silicon Valley. So the money is here with our VCs on Sand Hill Road. And we have all these incubator type Y Combinators and 500 startups, and everybody's looking for the next cool thing to do. And that's what this kind of event, this VLab event that happened near Stanford campus last week was about. And it was specifically on smart buildings. Jim Young moderated it. It had some of our favorite people up on the podium, being like Lucid Design and Building Robotics. And VCU's got a couple of other smart building companies in its stable. So it was an interesting conversation. And again, the topic of semantics came up. Haystack. I mean, they didn't specifically talk about Haystack. That's what was kind of interesting, because when you've come up through the ranks, like control trends of our particular industry, we know all about Haystack, but you get outside and nobody knows about Haystack. So this Silicon Valley event was definitely outside, and yet the topic moved to somebody's got to work on the problem of ontologies, taxonomies, and data semantics. Where are the brains on that? And so it was reassurance or verification that this is the problem everybody's going to come upon sooner or later.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. Our eyes and ears in Silicon Valley, as well as the nooks and crannies in the building automation controls business. Therese Sullivan. Therese, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on again, and we'll get you back next month, hopefully. Where's the best way for our listeners and viewers to find out more about you?
Well, buildingcontext.me. So building context.
CONTEXT. Oh, I did it wrong. I had your, okay, .me. I got .com. Oops.
No, it's .me. I didn't get the .com.
Oh, wow.
It's somebody's sitting on that.
All right.
.me.
So for our listeners out there, I have Therese's lower third. I screwed up. I'm bad. I should be paying attention to more data, I guess. So I apologize, Therese. So I'm going to just change your image real quick. Now, how do they reach again? Buildingcontext.me, right?
Right.
All right.
Building context on me.
Therese, thanks so much.
Great job, Teresa.
And then finally, Kenny, before we go, one last video highlight. We got Scott Mensch being interviewed on the red carpet at the 2015 Control Trends Awards. And again, special thanks to Scott, Jason Briggs. They were platinum sponsors this year. Be sure to check those guys out. There you have it. Another week on Control Talk Now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks to my co-host, the one to only Kenny Smyers. Thanks to our guests this week, Ed Merwin and Therese Sullivan. So with that, we'll tell you to have a great week. And remember, stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers.